Hello. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Hi, how you doing? Hi, Andrea. Hello, folks. Hey, Laura. Brad, what's up, buddy? Long time no see. What's up, Mike? Hello, George. Hey, Anna, how you doing? Hello, everybody. I have a new set. If you've been around here a while, we've upgraded things. Mr. Larry, my dog, decided to join the webinar, so he's bringing a lot of emotional support, marketing education. How are you guys doing? Where is everyone tuning in from? Let us know in the chat box. I have my partner in crime, John Grimshaw, here too. I'll be turning things over to him here in a second, but I will be manning the chat. So if you guys have questions, thoughts, feelings during the webinar, I want that to be really active. Would love to go back and forth with you guys. As always, we are going to take questions at the end of the webinar too. If anything big comes up during, we'll probably stop John and kind of see if we can weave the questions in also.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you guys for showing up live. So happy to see familiar faces. This is the Q3 Fast Track webinar. Thanks to ChatGPT for helping us name this webinar. This is going to be a really simple training for you guys. John and I are going to share 4 levers that anyone can pull to make the most of what's left here in Q3. We have had, luckily, an amazing year at Smart Marketer. Most of our clients are having a lot of success. Our business is up about 47%. Things are feeling good. And if you've been around this industry for a while, you know that is not always the case. And we are very honest about how things are going in our business and for our clients. So before we get into the Q4 craziness, most of you guys know that we always do a free Black Friday Cyber Monday toolkit. That will be coming out soon. Our up-to-date free training on our Q4 plans, examples of pages, ads, that will be coming, and we will be talking about Q4 soon. But John and I were thinking, hey, we want to do a quick pop-up webinar. Why not focus on what they can do right now before we finish the year strong? We are also doing this in celebration of 2 exciting things. The first is that we are almost sold out of Smart Marketer Live tickets. Smart Marketer Live is an annual event that we host in Denver. Last year was our first year. It was super fun. We're taking things to the next level this year. Brad and his wife were there. We got to give them hugs and say hello last year. So if you are interested in being in a room of badass entrepreneurs and marketers, check out smartmarketer.com/live. Grab your tickets, John. I think we have about 30 left. That is real scarcity. So they will sell out in the next week. If you want to come, grab those tickets. We also have open enrollment right now for the next week for our mastermind, which is called Mentor Table. So if you have a 7, 8, or 9-figure business and you're looking for a community, you're looking for coaching from us and our team and a lot of smart mastermind members, check out what is called Mentor Table. That is smartmarketer.com/Mentor Table 25. We will put those links in the chat. If you join the mastermind, you get free tickets to Smart Marketer Live. So if you're interested in the mastermind, definitely apply. If you qualify, you and I will get on a call. Do not buy Smart Marketer Live tickets yet, because we would then refund you. So 2 ways to really hang out with us in more depth as we close out this year and go into a really strong 2026. So I'm about to turn things over to John. He'll really get into the meat of the presentation. Then he and I are going to bounce back and forth to cover these 4 levers that are working right now for our clients and levers that all of you can pull in your businesses. So John, it is your turn to take the stage. John is the person that I've worked the longest with in this industry, which is so fun. John is a brother to me. He is the other side of my brain. I'm a bit more creative, even though John is creative. He is the logic, adult, data, Molly, this is how we're going to get shit done person. He's also one of the most brilliant marketing brains out there. So, John, we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and let's blow up the comment section. I've got Zoom open, so I don't want you guys to think I'm texting. I'm reading and responding to your comments. So thank you guys for being here.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. And I was just thinking, we're talking about Larry. I think he technically has seniority over me still. So I'm not
That's
sure I'm ever
true.
going to beat that. He knows a little bit more about marketing than me, but I speak better English than he does. So
Yeah,
luckily,
John,
small
I
competitive edge.
I adopted Larry in 2012 from Austin Pets Alive. So
Wow.
I adopted Larry when I was an intern at Digital Marketer. So he has been there for the entirety of the career. So hopefully some more years with this guy. I
Uh,
also did not ask him to do this, y'all. This is not staged. He literally hopped right up and he's like, Mom, I feel the energy. Something exciting's about to happen. So now he's snoring. So if you guys hear a dog snoring, Zach, you might have to mute me. But
All right. Well,
cheers, y'all. John,
we'll
I
balance it out,
also
bring some energy.
have to show off our amazing Serve the World Unselfishly and Profit mugs and pillows. It's the small things that really make you excited. But shout out to the Smart Marketer team. They set up all of this while I was on vacation and I came back to this beautiful set. So it really is the little things that make you happy.
It looks amazing. Though I also saw Zach move that pillow 12 times. And so the fact that Molly just picked it up and set it back down means that Zach has probably got itchy fingers now and is Oh no, but that's great. I love it. Molly calls that the shake and howdy, and that's great for people that know us real well. But if you don't know us, let's tell you just a tiny bit about Smart Marketer. So we are a company founded before Molly and I were part of it. Gosh, I mean, must have been 13, 14 years ago at this point. Education business, all about how to take lessons from e-commerce businesses at the time, and it's going to really include businesses of all types. 50,000 students, I would say that's pretty conservative, but working on digital marketing and business, really basing it on what we've seen work in case studies from businesses that we actively are in. And when they're up, it's great. And when they're down, hey, we say, how do we find lessons from this too? But it's a very good year. It's been an up year for sure, and nice to get lots of lessons. 40 years of experience in digital marketing between our leadership team, myself, Molly, Ezra Firestone, and Pep Hoofen, our Dutch Danger. I guess the other Pep is the original Dutch Danger, where there's two Peps that are in this company ecosystem, which is really hard to believe for a New York-based company, but maybe it's kind of a New Amsterdam thing going on there. So, but we spend lots of money on meta ads. We send lots of emails. We run lots of TikTok ads. We look at lots of pages. There is a ton going on. We are in a good way, right? Suffuse with marketing every single day of our lives. And it's not just scrolling the feed and saying, oh, that ad looks nice. We get to see the back end for tons of different businesses and really pull case studies to help us say, hey, this is working super, super well. How do we take these lessons and apply them to our other clients? Or, hey, this client's not really getting the traction yet. We're going to mastermind on this and bring the best strategies we've got from everything else to bear. So, it really gives us a great kind of feel for not just what's going on with our clients, what's going on with our own businesses, but what's going on with the market as a whole, which gives us, I think, the ability to kind of, do the finger lick, we hold it up, get the sense of the wind so you know which way to hit. And we see this not just in vibes, though vibes are good, but also results. In the last 12 months, clients' revenue grew about 230%. I'm going to go ahead and say that last digit is not statistically significant, but it's 30 plus businesses, a bunch of different sizes. So we're really seeing from mid eight figures to, businesses doing a couple million a year. These strategies are lessons that we bring into every single one of them. And this started as a presentation where we said, hey, you know what? Every time we have a new business come on, in the first 90 days, we really pick one or two of these things that we say, this is what we need to do because they've got two or three of these other levers figured out. This is what they're missing. And it's kind of evolved into our Black Friday, Cyber Monday prep, not because we're going to be talking about the ads you're going to run on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but because we want to build that energy and that momentum going into the end of the year. Like Molly said, part of this is talking about Mentor Table, really exciting mastermind. I mean, we've been doing it for about a year now, a little less than that. It's been an amazing experience, and we've just been able to work so closely with so many businesses. Got to have our in-person event uh, in April of this year. We're going to be seeing them again in Denver for Smart Marketer Live, which is super fun. We'll talk more about this at the end, but it's a great opportunity for us to get closer to businesses and really kind of figure out which lever should be pulled. But luckily, you're all here today, so I think we're going to be able to guide you to the right lever to start with. And if you get traction, you're going to say, "Hey, how do I pull the other ones in my business too?" So when we started making this presentation, we were like, "What should we name it?" And Molly's right. We went to ChatGPT, not for the strategies we present in it, but for naming stuff, because I feel like the closer you get to something, the harder it is to name it. And we went with the Q3 Fast Track. And I think it's an interesting thing to think about because this isn't just something that you need to do in Q3. This is kind of like all the other quarters, right? The last 5 minutes of a football game, that's when everybody's got their fingers white knuckling on the couch, stressed out. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? But the truth is, the game is won or lost in the first 3 quarters, right? And the quarter is nice for the football analogy, more so than it is in the last 5 minutes of the game. And so while we're talking about Q3, these are really the lessons that you need to think about all the time because it's stuff you should be doing every single day in your business. Because one thing I notice less from our clients and more just when I jump in and look at a business where they say, "Man, I hope we have a better Black Friday next year," right? That's one that I kind of love that because it's something we've got a good playbook for. But it's like, guess what? The secret is not saying you should have sent one more email during Black Friday. It's not saying, "Oh my gosh, if only you'd run this sale for an extra day, things would have changed," right? It's about how you build this momentum going into the next year. Q3 is really where you kind of set the tone for the big monetization event of the year. But it's also the experience of like everything you can do every single day. All of the levers we're going to talk about are things that you can spend 2, 3 hours on a week. That level of commitment, that level of change, that level of consistency is going to move the needle for your business so much. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into this stuff. There's, I think, 4 big things you need, which is not surprising because there are 4 levers. Momentum, right? Momentum is super important because you need to have customers and prospects coming into your business. If you are just selling to people that you sold to a year ago, profitability looks awesome, but your business is not poised for growth. If you don't have cash, how are you going to invest in ads? How are you going to invest in new products? You need money coming into the business because we want to get money moving, right? Ezra says this. It's something that huge perspective shift for me from when I was younger and my parents said, "Hold on to everything as tight as you can." Money likes to move. Money needs to be moving in business for business to be growing and thriving. You need margin, right? We don't want to have all this money flowing and at the end of the day say, "Boy, I sure spent a lot on ads, but I didn't see much of that come back into my pocket." So you need to find ways to get more margin, more opportunity for yourself, and all of that together leads to scale, right? The ability to actually say, "We've gone out and taken our amazing product that solves a real pain point, not to 10 people, not to 20 people, not to 2 farmers markets worth of people, but to people all over the state, all over the country, all over the world." And so we want to figure out how we can build those things up here in Q3. And I know Q3 feels like it's almost over, but the truth is, what we're going to talk about, the case studies we're going to look at, a lot of these lessons you could implement in a matter of days. It's not something where you need to spend a huge amount of effort. And every single, I don't know what the currency unit is here, but penny of effort, pound of effort, ounce of effort you pour in right now is going to pay back tenfold when you get to the actual Black Friday season. So, what are the 4 levers, right? And this is something we run into a lot is this idea of people say like, "Ooh, I'm super excited. I'm super hyped up. I don't really know how to take action on this. I've got a ton of energy and excitement." And so the levers are the categorization we use to take those 4 big ideas and try to put them into something you can say, "Okay, I know exactly what lever I'm going to spend my time pulling today." Each lever has a specific job, right? Momentum is created by ads. Ads provide the momentum because they are new prospects, new customers, new people in the business who are excited to see what you're doing, who have the problem you've been talking about and just now are seeing it. That's, I think, the craziest thing about all of this. When you live in a business, you eat, breathe, and sleep the pain point that you're fixing every single day. And so you say, everybody in the world knows that this is going to fix their problem. Everybody's already familiar. How do I break in? The truth is, there are millions, literally millions, for every single business on here. I can't imagine anyone is niche enough to not have that size audience of people who have that pain point that you haven't gotten to yet. Like, what we are doing is trying to build that momentum and get in front of those people who need that help. We have a few clients where the market is like 1 million people. right? So it's a smaller market, I would say, in some senses, but we still are getting amazing results and seeing lots and lots of growth because there are people that just don't know. And whatever size a market is, it grows. People come in, people leave it. So you always want to be thinking about how to get that momentum with ads. Next is cash flow, right? That comes from email, which is fantastic. Email is where I live. I love email so much. It's if you like numbers, if you like math, it's a good place to live. There's lots of creativity in it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a statistics game, right? If you are someone that looked at the problems in the back of the book to say, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this. I want to figure out how to win, how to get that homework done faster. This is where you get to live and breathe,
This
because
is where
email
we're
is where you.
different, John.
Yes, and that's good. You know, you live in ads land, right? Which has shifted towards such a creative focus, especially in the last 2 years. Email, tons of creativity involved. But the truth is, we want to turn all of those big creative ideas into things we can treat like stats, because that's where money gets made. It's where we go to people who we've already brought in, solved the problem, made a connection, built a relationship, and say, hey, for this relationship to continue, here's what you need to do. You need to read this content. You need to explore this. And hopefully, ultimately, you need to buy this product, which creates tons and tons of great money. I think one of the things I see, which is not one of these levers, maybe it should be, but is a big differentiator, is the idea of having new products, right? If you've got one product, it's a harder game to play in some ways. Not to say you can't have success, but the cash flow that you can generate with email, having that to reinvest it in creating new products and having conversations with people that aren't just buy my stuff, but what are you struggling with that's related to what we solve? That is really where growth is happening in so many ways. Next is margin. And this comes from optimization, right? My wife is a CRO, and it's weird because CRO, conversion rate optimization, but somehow they always use it as a noun when they're describing their job. Like all of her, you'd think there's like 20 people that do this in the world. No. Once a year, there's this big meetup in Austin. There's like 200 of these people that are all CROs that are getting together. And man, that is, if you want to see a nerdy bar conversation in Austin, Texas, come to that event put on by CXL. Very fun. We have a great time. But boy, talking
Wait,
about
John, I
error
didn't
bars
know.
when you're 3 beers deep.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a noun. This is the first time I've heard this. So,
That's
wow.
how it's done. Yeah, and so optimization, it's something that is so powerful, and I think it's one of those things that feels very black box, which I guess is kind of good for my wife because people say I don't know how to do this, but the truth is, so many of you could be doing little optimization tweaks every single day. It's just about saying, I'm going to say, what if I had a bigger headline? What if I had a better promise? What if I mentioned my guarantee? Little changes like that add up to big things. You'll see in our case study later. Ezra kind of came in and started working with the brand that he bought into, and they got some amazing initial traction with just a few changes you could make on your site in a matter of a week and low dev cost. And then finally, the last lever is scale, which translates back to offer. Offer, I think, is the secret sauce of all of this. The right offer with an ugly page is going to make your ads more profitable, your email more profitable, your optimization easier. And nothing beats a strong offer. But it's something that we can kind of trick ourselves into investing in incorrectly because it's a big concept, right? It's like, what are we doing? Offer is a culmination of so many different things. And I've got a whole offer formula that's too long for this presentation. I'm not going to get into it. But ultimately, it's about what is the thing that our audience needs that solves their pain point that also starts that relational conversation. Not just saying, all right, I was able to sell somebody a $2 widget. I did it. I'm a marketer now. No, we need to figure out, does that $2 thing you sell them have them come back and buy the $20 thing, the $200 thing, and ultimately say, I'm going to be a customer of yours for years and years. So really interesting kind of story to look at there. But yeah, those are the four levers. And so we've got at least one case study, maybe a couple for all of these. And as we kind of go through each lever, we'll show you what we learned, what kind of results we got. So you can kind of see, okay, yeah, legit, this is something we should be doing. And then we'll wrap it up by talking about how you could go out and implement that yourself. But any big thoughts on that, Molly, before you jump into the first lever, ads?
Nope, I'm ready to roll. You've got the comment section now, John.
All
And
right,
yes,
handing off
guys, there
the.
will be a recording. There's always a recording with us. So that's usually ready in what, 1 to 2 days, John?
Yeah,
We'll email that to
real
you
fast.
guys as soon as it's ready. So if you can't stay, need to watch it later, no problem. Also, guys, this is the first time I've used a mouse in like 12 years, and I feel like a toddler right now. I don't have the muscle memory for this. Alrighty. You can see my slides, Sean?
Yes, absolutely.
Alrighty. Okay, y'all. So we covered part of this on the last Smart Marketer live show. So if you like live webinar format, I know a lot of the industry has moved away from this when it comes to tactical marketing stuff. We have not. We have a live show every single month. You can go to smartmarketer.com. It is in the navigation. Sign up for the Smart Marketer show. We cover stuff like this every single month. So I touched on this a little bit a few weeks ago, but we have added more life to it and really wanted to bring this back for our ad lever. So anytime we go into a client account, this is the exact system that we are going to attempt to implement with slight tweaks depending on the business. So the client that we're focusing on right now is Pretty Farm Girl. If you guys haven't seen this business, first off, they're amazing people. Second off, their products are fantastic. I have their lip balm in my purse right now. We actually got them into a local store here in my hometown, so I get to see their products all the time. They came to us about a year ago with insane organic traction, and they're like, guys, we're really trying to pour some gasoline on the fire here. And this business has been one of our fastest growing clients in the last year. Part of this is, of course, the media buying strategy. We can click through, Zach. And this is thanks to Dominique. So Dominique is one of our senior media buyers. She just got promoted. So congrats to Dominique if she ever watches this. Dominique used to work for Meta. She really helps create and maintain a lot of the SOPs that we use across the media buying department. So I am no longer in ad accounts as I was 10 years ago. Everything that we're sharing here is thanks to our team. And really, what we're going to focus on here is the ad account structure that allowed us to not only increase their revenue by 60% top line, but also increase their ad spend by 100%. These guys aren't able to come to Smart Marketer Live this year. They were there last year, but they generally come to our live events. I also want to call out that they are really amazing at staying in touch with their market. They have a great face of the company, which is the wife. They are a couple. She's really in tune with her audience. She is great with organic social, and they are wonderful at listening to their audience, listening to what products they desire, and then continuing to launch new products. So, as John mentioned that earlier, we can be the direct response growth machine for their business, and they are pumping in amazing products all the time. So definitely a brand to number one, buy from, just to consume their products, especially if you're a lady, but they can work for men too, and to watch as business people and marketers. So we asked Dominique, okay, Dominique, this account has had crazy success. What are the 5 steps that led us here that our amazing community can copy and learn from? So the first, of course, has absolutely nothing to do necessarily with ads. It's more thinking about the customer journey and the way that we are splitting up our audiences. So the first thing that Dominique did, instead of having everything lumped together like you see in most ad accounts, not just Meta, but across the board, we started to separate out campaigns with each step of the customer journey. This is marketing 101. I'm not sure why so many things are still being lumped together. This is a practice that I think Meta is still pushing. I'm not quite sure. It rarely works. But if you are doing this, if you are trying to lump your offers, all of your audiences into 1, 2, 3 big campaigns, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. So the first thing we did with them and most clients is start to uncouple all of this, doing things like splitting new versus existing customers, proper exclusions. This started to boost efficiency because what was working still continued to work, but we were able to isolate, add more steps to the customer journey, and really just start putting more relevant messages in front of the right audience depending on their buying behavior. Step 2, of course, a creative overhaul. And if you go into Facebook ad library, most of you know you can Google Facebook ad library, you can look up any Facebook page, select the geolocation, and see the active ads that a brand is running. When Meta launched that 5 or 6 years ago, it was a dream for marketers. I wish I would have had that the last 13 years. It's amazing research. You can go check out all of Pretty Farm Girl's ads. We are really heavy on video, as we'll talk about later. There are some still image ads that are working that were really simple to make with AI that I will show you, but we really needed a creative overhaul. As I said, this brand had been really solid with organic social, so we had some stuff to work with, but we also needed some ads that are built for direct response, that were built with certain avatars in mind, certain hooks in mind. After we were able to untangle the account structure and get that reset up for efficiency, our next step, as always, is a creative overhaul. So if you are an agency or you are a brand, whether you're running your own ads or you have someone on your team, if you're looking to refresh what you're doing, you're looking to squeeze more out of what you're doing, number one, uncouple all of the big campaigns that you have squished together, see what steps you can add to the customer journey. And then secondly, of course, creative is the new currency when it comes to media buying, which is good for all the creatives out there. So the second step, and this is constantly week over week, as you will see, was a creative overhaul. The third, message testing. So this really goes with creative testing, but sometimes this is done in separate campaigns. So this is coupled with creative, but we're also talking about copy. We're talking about avatars. We're also speaking bigger than just creative when we're discussing this message testing, especially for a brand like Pretty Farm Girl that is what we would call a product-centric business. This is a business that sells skincare. It is mostly for women. It's mostly for women that would rather use natural skincare. But in the grand scheme of things, skincare could be used by almost anyone in the world. Well, when you are a product-centric business, this is an advantage because your scale is so much bigger, but it can also be a disadvantage if you are not looking and you are not scaling to all of these different avatars with different messages. So a brand like Pretty Farm Girl is going to benefit from us looking at these sub avatars, looking at the reasons in which they are going to buy, and really going deeper into this message testing, which we'll talk about here in a second. Number four, this is just smart budgets. The way that they were budgeting before with the agency absolutely made no sense. This was coupled with the first issue where we had just a few big campaigns that were squished together. So we started using back-end data, real hard data, Shopify, third-party attribution tools, not Facebook data, to figure out what the hell was going on in this business. And a lot of times we find when we bring in a client or for a mentor table member that the numbers that they think they are seeing are actually not correct, even if they're using a third-party attribution tool. So this is something that we're always checking in this fourth spot. Are we budgeting correctly for each step of this journey? And is this data actually correct? This is where John comes in and with a lot of clients, where we have to actually build custom dashboards. We have to build custom tracking to make sure that the numbers are correct. So we were able to set a true customer value. We were able to actually figure out what their CPA and ROAS goals should be. When you feel confident in your numbers, when you know what is true, your bank account looks a lot better at the end of the day. So this is adult stuff that's not always so much fun, but it's really important. And I think this is something that sets us apart from other agencies and other masterminds. And then the fifth thing that we did, of course, the offers. If you guys have ever learned from me before, paid ads was my first love. Offer creation is really what I love most when it comes to direct response marketing. Anywhere from helping someone craft their first offer that they're going to use for paid ads, to some of our clients who have 10, 15 different offers that they're using to help scale their customer acquisition. Now, what was interesting is Pretty Farm Girl had scaled to a pretty significant number before us, basically running traffic to their homepage, which is a surprise. You usually do not see that work, especially for an e-commerce brand. So it was surprising that that worked. And when we saw that was their main offer for paid ads, we knew that we had to throw some new offers into the mix. Whether a client's offer is working or not, this is always a lever that we are going to pull for scale. And it's understanding the analogy that I always share. Your market is a pond of fish. They might all be interested in buying skincare, but all of those people are different as humans. Some of them like to read, some of them like to watch. They have different triggers in their brain. So by showing and using different offer styles, you're able to capitalize on more of the market than you would have if you're just relying on one or two offers, even if they are working really well. So these were the 5 big keys. And now we're going to dive into the specifics. This is one example, John. I'm touching on offers here. Sorry, I'm getting into one of your levers, but this is a quick example of how you can build offer variations without it being a lot of work. So instead of going to the homepage, we continue to do that. The first thing that we did with Pretty Farm Girl was add this evergreen catalog page. So it's an evergreen 10% off. This is a Zipify template. It is so easy to build. There is no main navigation at the top, so people do not get lost. They're forced to consume and take the action on the page. There is nothing fancy about this page at all. We are just forcing the consumer behavior that we want, which is for them as a first purchase to buy shit. And for them to not just buy one thing, but for them to hopefully buy multiple things so that our revenue per visitor is high. So this is a great example of taking an offer that's working, a homepage, which a lot of e-commerce businesses' homepage is essentially function as a category page in a way. Okay, now we're going to move this to a true evergreen discount category page. We're going to direct all the attention on them buying. There is really nothing else for them to do on this page other than watch testimonial videos, of course, then shop and to start to add products to the cart. So making a change like this can sometimes double your AOV, obviously have a high impact on your conversion rate. And this can make a huge difference in your overall ROAS before you even touch the ads. And we'll just scroll through this. You guys get the slides. You can also see we are still running a lot of traffic to this page if you check out Pretty Farm Girl's Facebook ad libraries. So you saw that we had 10 to 15 different products. You don't have to have that many products for this to work, but we had all of their best sellers there for them to add to cart. Someone's bought into the brand. They're bought into the natural lifestyle. They love the face of the brand. Now they start shopping. This is next level from sending traffic directly to a product page. So let's dive into these 5 steps a little bit more. All right. So of course, when we bring someone on, we are going to look at what the hell has worked. It's very rare that we bring on a client where nothing worked in the past. So before you launch into anything new, even if this is your business, you want to dig into past ad data. So the things that our media buying team is looking for, things that got good results in the past, but for some reason didn't get a lot of budget. Sometimes you can even find those ads that maybe generated 5, 10 purchases, but maybe the way that the campaign was set up or the ad set was set up, or maybe it was a promotion. It just didn't get legs. It didn't get a lot of budget. So we're starting to note which ads have low spend, but did hit our success metrics. Same thing, which ads performed well in one campaign, maybe a promotion, but they were never used again. As marketers and business people, I don't know if you guys experience this, but we do a lot of things that work and then we forget to continue to do them John and I talk about this all the time. We'll start to build something new and we're like, shit, we've already built something like this. Why did we quit doing that? Why did we quit using that? Especially if it's a promotion that has an end and start date. It's like, wow, we built a lot of amazing assets for that promo that can be reused in different ways. You guys probably have a lot of those assets in your ad accounts, in your Klaviyo accounts. We're also, of course, looking at things that generated clicks. That's going to tell us which avatars, which hooks, which messages we want to go deeper into when we are building new assets. But of course, we're looking at what brought in customers. So we're essentially doing an audit, but not from the standpoint of how do we totally redo this entire account right now? It's more of what worked, right? This is less of critiquing what didn't work. Oh, I don't think that this campaign structure worked well. I don't think that this targeting worked. What did work and what does that mean for the future? Something else that's really smart that our media buyers do is breaking down with customized columns, age, gender, region, placement. You might overlook something that in a broader campaign didn't work, but when narrowed down to women over the age of 50, actually had a really low CPA, actually had a really high ROAS. So even if you are in your ad account every single day, guys, or you have someone on your team that is, make sure that you are going back and analyzing past campaigns and breaking them down by gender, by age, by where these people live, because you're probably going to find not only ads that could work if launched in a new campaign, but completely new ideas in general, new avatars to go after, new hooks that might work to scale the brand. The second step here, build the testing engine. So we know what worked, and this is starting to inform all of the new shit that we want to test, right? But we can't just throw these assets out there and see what happens. We need to actually build a testing engine. So there are a few pieces to that. Of course, one is the creative testing campaign. So we always have at least one campaign in each ad account, sometimes multiple, that every single week, every few days, we are constantly testing new creatives. We cannot say this enough. I know you guys know this, but even versus a year ago, 3 years ago, definitely 5 years ago, and definitely since iOS 14.5, this is the currency of success other than your offer. If you are not constantly testing new assets, you will never get this to work in today's day and age. 5 years ago, you could have. Now, you will not. This is 90%, y'all, of what it means to be a media buyer in today's meta landscape. I can't highlight that enough. So we have this creative testing campaign, sometimes multiple, if we have different avatars that's always running, always pumping new shit into it. Now, something else that most people don't have, a lot of people lump their creative testing in with new targeting testing. So whether it's interests, which can still work, lookalike audiences, which can still work, broad, all of the different audience types that we have at our disposal. We also have a separate campaign where we're constantly testing new audiences. Now, of course, we're using our top performing ads so that we don't have too many variables to test here, but this is the same thought process as the creative testing campaign, but here we are testing new audiences. This is one of my favorite parts of media buying. It still is. Whenever I have extra time in my week, guys, I am literally still going into client accounts looking for new interests that might work for their brand. I don't know why I love it. I feel like a detective. But this is still one of my favorite things to do. So that's the second part of this testing engine. And then, of course, we have our scaling campaign. Sometimes this is multiple campaigns depending on the particular brand and how many offers and avatars they have. This one's really self-explanatory. Everything that's working in our asset creative campaign and testing campaign comes to life in the scaling campaign. This is where we start with high budgets. This is where the scale comes, right? This is where most of the spend is happening in the account. It is shit that we know works, set up for a lot of momentum. So this test engine is what a lot of you are missing. We're trying to go from what's working and what's not working to why is my account not scaling? And we're missing especially the creative and targeting test campaigns that then feed the scale campaigns. And here are some specifics for those of you that I know are probably asking in your head or in the comments. These are straight from the media buying team. These are our current SOPs. So testing framework for all brands. There are slight variations sometimes because that's how marketing works. So we have the discovery phase. We're testing 10 to 15 angles or topics at all times. We run these for at least 3 days, sometimes 7 days, but minimum of 3 days. Of course, we're tracking on platform metrics to just start to see what people are engaging with. CPC, click-through rate. Of course, we are looking to see what gets purchases, and we are hoping for at least 2 to 3 winners a week in this particular campaign. Okay, now we move to the optimization. So we're taking the winning angles and what we learned, the winners we just talked about, and we are starting to test other format variations. This is a really underutilized part of meta media buying right now. People will have a winner. They'll have a winning video, let's say, and then all they're testing is completely different creatives, new angles, new avatars. That is good, but you are leaving a lot of money on the table if you are not taking that winner and repurposing it into other types. So from a static image, let's say a static image is working. How can we turn that into a GIF? How can we turn that into a video? How can we turn that into a carousel? If you see our ads at Smart Marketer, you see this all the time. Zach, who's behind the camera, is our social media manager, but he's also helping to produce our ads. A lot of the assets he's making for social, we use that data. We see things that have a lot of engagement, and then we create other format variations of that to launch in paid ad campaigns. Really, really important and super easy for you to do with AI or a designer to do. We're also making slight changes like adding overlays. During Q4, when we are running Black Friday sales for clients, most of the creatives that we will use are the winning creatives from all year long with a bit of text overlaid about the sale. Q4 is not the time to do a bunch of cold traffic testing, right? That is a time to take stuff that you know has worked and make some slight optimizations here. So badges, trust signals, customer reviews, anything you can overlay so that you keep the message of the ad, but you change it a little bit, especially in Meta's eyes. And then, of course, testing different headline copy combos. That's something that's been happening for years. Then when we get to the scaling, so we're out of the creative, we're out of the targeting testing. So we're focusing budget on 2 or 3 ads. This hurts my heart because back in the day, it would be like 15 to 20 ads in a scaling campaign. But good for media buyers nowadays. I guess this keeps it simple. And they're doing a lot more testing than we used to do. Hell, a lot of you remember you used to be able to throw ads into a campaign and start scaling that day. The platform just doesn't work like that anymore. Create lookalikes if those work for your account. Obviously, creating different variations of your landing page depending on the messages and the avatars that are working. And then we're starting to build out the customer journey a little bit further with the retargeting audiences. So those are more of the specifics in terms of budgets, number of ads, what we're measuring, because I know a lot of you tactical people want to know the answer to that. Okay, now let's talk about the budget split a little bit. For some reason, most clients that we bring on have an absurd budget split that is heavy on retargeting, and it is affecting the growth of their business. Right now, 2025, going into Q4, on average, about 80% across the board with our clients of budget is going to new customers, 20% is going to bottom of funnel. This is very different than it used to be 5 years, 10 years ago. It was more 50-50. It was more 60-40. I think in like 2013, I came up with a 641 method, 631 method, where 60% was going to cold traffic, 30% was going to middle of funnel, 10% was going to bottom. Way heavier top of funnel nowadays. I think there are a lot of reasons for this we don't need to go into now, but I know this is something a lot of you guys think of. So make sure that you are spending a majority of your budget on top of funnel, unless you are Oprah, unless you are, one of the top 200 celebrities in the world and you have millions of site visitors every single day and you can basically just retarget, which I don't think is anyone on this call. Make sure that your split looks more like 80-20. Otherwise, you are probably wasting money. All right, step 4, we talked about this, but we want to reiterate, test every week. This is actually a metric that we measure for media buyers. How many tests did you run this week? This is a non-negotiable at the Smart Marketer Agency. There are lots of things we are flexible about. Testing new creative and testing new targeting is not one of them. And then, as we said, move the winners into your scale campaign, give them more budget, make sure you're actually measuring success on back-end data and not what Meta is telling you. They're always going to over attribute. I'm not going to go into every single one of these details, but later, if you guys are looking to overcome creative fatigue, the biggest issue in media buying right now, other than bad offers, this is the exact SOP for how we do that. We talked about format changes. They're the easiest, going from a GIF to a static or a static to a video. But there's also what we call context changes and perspective changes. They get more advanced in the amount of shooting that you need to do, but these are the steps that we take as we iterate on creative. So the format is the easiest. The context change is a little bit more difficult. You're going from a shot like this. Zach's recording video of me right now that I'm sure he'll use for ads and social media. But if something works, if that video works, you better believe Zach is going to have me go outside, or Zach's going to have me at the farm in a more casual, less big girl shot here, just to start to change the context. It can be as simple as day to night, indoor, outdoor, seasonal adjustments. We're always making seasonal adjustments to our ads. And then perspective gets a little bit more into changing the hook. But these are the iterations from easiest to more advanced. As you start to find creatives that work, how do we create more creatives that are like that creative, that keep the core message and the reason that it worked, but start to create variations so that we have more to work with? And then of course, step 5, this is the easiest part, right? This is where 5% of the work is done, basically starting to up the budgets. If something's working, do not be shy. Do not hold back. Give it more money, especially this time of year, guys. You know that in about a month, probably 3 weeks even, because it scoots up every single year, the big brands are going to start entering the auction with their millions of dollars a day budgets, the Targets, the Walmarts. They are coming in early with their Black Friday sales. Use the next 3 to 4 weeks as CPMs are low before things get crazy to start to scale what's working. Spend more, even a little bit more if possible, than you might be comfortable with, so that you can acquire as many customers as possible to monetize during Q4, and do it without guessing. Here's our scaling decision criteria, because I know you guys care about this. This is our exact SOP. So if a CPA is below 50% for 7 days, 7 days, guys, not 2, not 3, 7 days, that's when we start to scale. We scale by 20% every 3 days. We watch the frequency, unless it, like for Smart Marketer, we'll let the frequency get over 2, because this market of online entrepreneurs is pretty small. But for a normal e-commerce brand with a bigger market, more than a 2 frequency, you're probably being annoying. And have creative variants ready. So every week that you're launching creative test, you are hoping for winners so that you have more ammunition to throw into these scale campaigns so that you aren't seeing a huge dip week over week, which is really how we analyze media buying. Our clients get a report every single week. We are looking day to day, but we aren't making a lot of decisions day to day unless it's upping budgets or turning something off. When we're looking at the holistic paid traffic system, is this working? Make sure you're analyzing your data in a week's time. It is a reflection of human behavior, and that gives you enough data so you're not making rash decisions and holding yourself back. And then just to round this out, to touch on creative and what's working for Pretty Farm Girl. So actually 80% of their top performing creative in scale campaigns is video. That is higher than normal. There are a few reasons for this. It's usually 50-50. Do not be the marketer that says video works better than images, so I'm not going to do images, or images work better than video, so I'm not going to do video. Don't do that. This is a real estate game. There is a certain amount of inventory for images, certain amount for video. There are certain humans that are going to react to images, certain humans react to video. If you put all of your eggs in one basket, you are missing half of your market. But some brands do better with video. For Pretty Farm Girl, you guys can see all of these videos in Facebook ad library. UGC is crushing. This has not changed that much in 10 years, other than shorter videos that get to the point. People's attention spans are the shortest they've ever been in humanity, and they're only getting shorter, as crazy as that is. But UGC still works, especially with voiceover. Packaging footage works for almost every one of our clients. It feels like a behind the scenes, get to know the team. I swear, when our clients are in, wherever they're packing their goods, when they are there on the iPhone, the team, you can actually see them pack it. You can see the product. You can see that they're real people, just like the consumer. It works year round, but it especially works during Q4. And then number 3, of course, face to camera testimonials. This is a little bit different from what we would call UGC. This would be more so working with influencers, which you'll see a lot of in Pretty Farm Girl's Facebook ad library, people that fit the avatars, people who had organic success selling this product. Now we are moving this over to Meta from a paid standpoint. Images do work for Pretty Farm Girl. I honestly do not love these ads. Like, I feel like there's so much more creativity we could add to this, but for some reason, this is what's working right now. And guess what, guys? These were made with AI. We literally gave AI templates, examples of other clients' ads that we loved, and said, hey, make these for Pretty Farm Girl. And these are working. We do have some more creative variations that you will see in Facebook ad library right now. One that promotes a bundle, like a step 1 and 2, John, that's a really creative offer. But still, images are working in this account, just not like videos are. But for all of us out there, we do want to try to keep that 50-50 mix. And then old school copy hooks, formulas work. These are the 2 best copy variations that are working this year. John, it's a good old did you know logic hook. Did you know most skincare products are packed with over 30 unnecessary chemicals and fillers? Not that complicated, but it makes you think. And then on the right, John, how many times have you seen this copy formula work for 10 plus years, really just using very specific testimonials from our customers, right? This should not be a big, broad, boring testimonial, right? These work because they're real stories from real people. Our team is constantly indexing the new testimonials that come in from customers. It's the best asset you will ever have for a brand. And we are seeing where we can use them for copy, seeing where we can use them for creative. you guys, because you're on this webinar, are actually going to see some ads that will launch tomorrow for Smart Marketer that are the best little snippets of testimonials for our brand put into still image text boxes. So they will not only be the copy, but they will also take up most of the creative. So this really goes both ways here. So summary, John, sorry I took up so much time with this lever, but I get excited about this.
That's good.
Uh, do what we do in client accounts, guys. What we do is not rocket science. The only, I guess, leg up that John and I and Smart Marketer has is that we're looking at so many businesses at once. We can see trends, right? We start to get a clearer picture of what's working and what's not working across the brand. And we have a badass team, which a lot of you guys have. That's the only difference. You guys can take these steps with your ads. You can retool your account structure. You can set up better creative, better targeting testing campaigns. You can be a little bit more aggressive with your scaling. You can make sure your back end numbers, your numbers on the back end are solid and that's what you're using when making decisions. But just to wrap up, Dominique, again, shout out to you. Analyze what's working. It's crazy how many people skip over this, especially those small details in your account of things that could have worked if you would have paid more attention. Build your testing engine. I think this should be testing empire, John. I almost said that. Make sure you're spending more on top of funnel than you ever have before, period. Test new assets every single week. That's a non-negotiable. And promote the winners very aggressively. So shout out to the Smart Marketer team. That is the ad lever, baby. And shout out to Pretty Farm Girl for always letting us use you as an example. We love you guys and we love working with you. And Zach, thank you for being my clicker over there. I know that wasn't fun for you. So we can go back to Mr. Grimshaw now.
All right, and while I'm taking it over, the biggest theme of the questions people are asking is that they're trying to understand how creative lives in these multiple spaces of the testing campaign and the scale campaign. So when we put new creative out there, are we dumping it into the same testing campaign, or are we building a new one? And then when it wins, do we need to keep a minimum amount of, or rather a maximum amount of creative in the scale campaign for that to work? Or is it okay to have more than two or three?
So, John, the scale campaign, and there's usually multiple depending on the
Yep.
number of offers and avatar in a business, usually only has 2 to 3 ads in it. So that would only be 2 to 3 creatives of the tens of hundreds that make it into that scale campaign.
Exactly. That's good. And you may want to add some more dashes to that, but I know that was the thing people are super curious about because it feels like, oh, am I allowed to have this running in multiple spots? And really, I think we
And
want to get those winners out there.
Larry abandoned me, John. Like, oh, she's talking about ads again. I've heard this. I've heard this too many times.
Well, it's, the dulcet tones of my voice will hopefully bring Larry back for a snooze. And hey, you know what? It's kind of like you talked about ads a lot, but when you're planning the menu for the week, you don't leave hamburger off because that's like everybody's favorite, right? So ads, I think, are what the people are here to see. I love that you had such a good deep dive. And I mean, the results speak for themselves. We like 10x, I think, Pretty Farm Girl spend. It's down a little bit now, not because of performance dips, but because they were like, we're moving warehouses and we need to get ready for this big kind of Q4 push. And so it's pretty insane what we've been able to do, but it also always starts with how great their products are. So
Yeah, and we can definitely dive into creative more at the end of this. We also have a really cheap course. If you go to
good suggestion.
smartmarketer.com and you hit courses, that is, in my opinion, the best creative course on the market. It's only a few $100s. Ben Bennett, our creative director, and I built that. It gives you all the SOPs that our creative department uses. It also shows you how we test, move them into scale campaigns. So we'll answer questions at the end, but that course is underpriced and very good. We get great testimonials for that. And shout out to Graham English, one of the very first people that I met in marketing. I'm so glad you're here, buddy. And you've been getting bad advice. Yeah, we'll fix that.
Love to see Graham. Good to hear from you, man. But yeah, very fixable problem is the good news. That's the beauty. Ad account can be started another day with new creative, new structure, and it makes a big impact. We get good results when we do changes like this within 10 to 15 days if the bones are good. So, all right, as passionate as Molly is about ads, I am as much about email, but I also know we don't want to keep you guys on here for 10 hours. So shooting to be done in 20 minutes. So we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. Obviously, if you need to dip, we've got the recording that we're going to be sending out to you. But still 3 more levers to go. And the preamble's done. Again, the ads one, the most exciting one of the bunch is covered, but there's still some good stuff in here, some really interesting case studies you can copy. The most fun one to me is this email one because this is from there's an element of like we've got a team that does a lot of this work and so they kind of digest the amazing results and we're like, okay, is this a good one to use as a story here or not? This is when I drove the ship on myself, so I've got a little bit more inside baseball knowledge than sometimes, but the two most profitable emails this company ever sent that were not Black Friday emails came from this campaign that we ran for them. And it was essentially when I first did this, I called it the mini Black Friday Cyber Monday. But the truth is, this is just how you do an account warming with email marketing. And there's no better way to get yourself ready for the end of the year, for tomorrow, for whenever, than by re-engaging and reinvigorating your list. Because there is so much more potential with email marketing, but it's become a harder game because there are way more spam filters, right? There's a ton of bad actors who have gotten more aggressive, have found sneakier ways to create a worse email experience. And so it's kind of an arms race escalation where Gmail has to say, hey, I got to be more restrictive with who I let through. How engaged are people? If they're not in the sort of engaged bucket, we're going to have to send them to promotions. We're going to have to send them to spam. So you have to play more aggressively so that you can get back in Gmail's good graces, Yahoo's good graces, all those different companies. But the way we sent these emails was by warming things up. So what we did was we took over this account running their email and we said, all right, you guys are doing pretty well with email, but we need to clean this list, right? It's up to 350,000 people. You haven't done a list cleaning in a long time. We want to fix it up, pull out the people that are no longer engaging, that are dragging down the overall deliverability, and then run some sales once we get some of those folks that are kind of in the bucket and not engaged back warmed up. So we did that, right? And kind of looking back 30-day window of time, doing this warm up and then doing a couple of sales to sort of capitalize on it. If we compare it to the Black Friday from the previous year, with 13 emails for this kind of double promotion, generated around 320,000 pounds, right? Compared to the Black Friday performance where they generated 550, but that took 27 emails, right? So you got 60% of the revenue with 55% of the emails. Pretty amazing. And when we look at the full 30-day cycle of this business after we did this warming strategy, we had 88% of the monthly email revenue versus Black Friday Cyber Monday. So that's crazy, right? And the year over year lift was 95%. So lots of numbers, right? But basically the idea is that we said, hey, your email list is full of people who are never going to buy your products. And the more you send to them, the less likely the people who want to buy your products are to see your emails and to buy your products. So we got to get rid of those folks that are not engaged, and the folks that are engaged and are interested in buying and need your products, we have to get them more hyped up and more likely to click on your emails. So we were able to do all of this in less than 60 days. And I give you that stat because you can still do this before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You will make significantly more money during your holiday sale if you do a list warming than if you just keep trucking along like you are today. It's not to say there's not people on your list that are good fits for your product, who are interested, who would probably be willing to buy, that might get bumped off. But overall, the idea that you're going to get in front of the people who are ready to purchase and actually get them to commit and get them to see your emails and get them to notice that you're selling something, it's going to be unbelievably impactful on your business's cash flow and bottom line. So it all starts with the warming, right? The sales themselves, I'll talk about them for a second. They don't really matter, right? You need to run a good sale. You guys know how to run good sales. You need to give some kind of a discount. You need to announce it, and you need to have some scarcity around that discounting and give them a reason to take action. It's the same fundamental principle all the time. Really, the thing that is different is this warming. And I think this is the most important thing that people have a really hard time with, because it's not fun to say, hey, I spent the last 5 years building my email list up to 80,000 people, 120,000 people. I cannot bear to give up a single one of those email addresses. We did an analysis for Boom. This was 3 or 4 years ago at this point, where it was like, hey, let's break people out into 15-day windows. Have they engaged in 15 days, 30 days, 45, 60? The drop off in clicks and opens for a very, very emotionally resonant brand people are really strongly connected with, has a crazy repeat purchase rate. At about 45 to 60 days, the drop off in clicks and opens, it's like falling off a cliff, right? So people who are in that actually engaged window, who have engaged with you ideally in the last 30 days, we really go 90 to 120. Those people are the ones that actually do 95% of the lifting with your email marketing. And we have to make sure that they are seeing the emails. So what we do is what we call the engagement snowball. We run 5, 6, 7 emails, kind of depending on how big the list is, where we are sending to our most engaged audience. And we're sending out great content, things that solve problems they have, questions that they need to answer. I've got examples of these emails we can include later, maybe with the recording, because it is fun to see them. But we were able to get 5% click rate with that first group. We were targeting people who had clicked twice in the last 30 days, though. So it's not like the email itself was some super magical email. It was, hey, we took our most engaged audience and we sent them this email. And then they clicked because we asked them a simple question. But we build on that idea. And what happens is that super high level of engagement, the replies, which you don't even see factored into these percentages here, but are a big part of it. These emails aren't about making money. They're about showing Gmail, hey, this person is sending out emails and they're getting off the charts levels of engagement as compared to their peers. These may need to go from the promotions tab to the primary tab because something they're saying is resonating with this audience. We go to a slightly bigger audience. The effect happens again. New email, slightly bigger audience, same general principle. Let's share great content. Let's tell people interesting stories. Let's ask them questions that they feel compelled to answer. Ask them to share pictures of their pets. We did this step by step until we got up to, we've only got 5 emails listed here. We continually added people after this 5 email period. But this alone got the overall click rate boosted up so much higher for the business and led to a really great promotion. So if you do nothing else with your email marketing, do this warming. You don't even have to run the sales on the back of it. But why wouldn't you want to? Because it's going to be the most profitable that you've run in the last 365 days, almost certainly. But
Yeah,
this
John.
warming thing is so good.
And this has never not worked, guys. So whether we do this for a client or we started recommending this to mentor table members last year, most people do this like every 6 months,
Yep.
sometimes once a year, it depends. It's never not worked. So this is the most surefire thing in this presentation. And that's hard to say for most marketing tactics, Sean. And I mean this for e-commerce, information, SaaS, local business. It doesn't matter. This is one of the best ways to boost your email engagement.
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. And yeah, it's true. Like, not everybody's going to get results as dramatically good as this, but I have yet to see a time where we've run this and we haven't walked away from it saying, boy, I'm glad we did that before XYZ, before this sale, before this Q4 event, before whatever. It's just how you need to start your relationship with an email strategy. So everybody should do this. I've talked about it multiple times this year. You know what? What do we need? Like 27 marketing touches. So hopefully this is marketing touch 26 or 27 for this idea in your brain, because I absolutely think this is the most high impact thing you can do to get more dollars in your pocket. Because great promos start with a great list. So just showing some numbers so you have a sense. 13% increase in open rate. Not a huge lift, right? But that's good. And Klaviyo's reporting is very weird because they show the raw percentage lift rather than the percentage change. An 82% increase in click rate, right? So we almost doubled the click rate for the business, which was fantastic. And this includes all the sale campaigns, not just the warming campaigns. 25% increase in placed order, 29% increase in revenue per recipient. And the list got smaller. So you might say, well, I can't bear to have a smaller list, right? I don't care that you made more money. I don't care that people were more engaged with your emails. I don't care that people who haven't bought from you in 9 months decided to come back and buy again because they were engaged by this. I can't have a smaller list because less people will visit my site. But when we look at the actual numbers to see how much this affected on-site traffic, you'll find that they had almost double the number of visitors compared to the previous 4 months. The only exception being compared to Black Friday, when they again sent 27 emails in that window of time. So functionally, it doubled the volume of traffic, right? Because if we ran a Black Friday sale right after we'd done this warming, I suspect it would have been even higher percentage lift of people clicking over to the site. So not only does it get you more money in your pocket, boost your metrics for Gmail likes you better, it gets more people to actually go look at the stuff that you're doing. Because it's not that this brand hadn't been running sales. It's not that they hadn't been doing a ton of stuff. They had just done Black Friday, right? They'd been running lots of sales. There's no magic pill that made this work that's not represented here. It's just that warming. And the sales themselves, pretty simple, right? We did a simple bundling sale. It said, hey, if you buy 2 products together, you get this percentage off. If you buy 3 or more off, you get this percentage off. Not a crazy sale, not some highfalutin complicated offer. not crazy creative that we had to use in this. It was really, really easy. But it drove 156,000 pounds in revenue from around 3,300 sales with a 34% higher AOV, right? So it took people who were not seeing the brand and got their reconnection to be around bundling. And there is a big element of subscription in this business too, which was really helpful because there's money not even represented in this stat that was created through this, right? When you get them on subscription, the pain point is getting resolved for their pets. Huge. People don't leave that. They stay on it. And so it's really, really impactful in that way. And then we ran an overstock sale, which was just another sale, right? It says, hey, we want to move some inventory off the shelves, right? It's time to make way for new stuff. We've got a ton of new products coming out this year. The thing we did different here was instead of focusing just on bundling, we still did bundling as part of the offer. We said, all right, we did this segmentation where we looked at these different groups, right? People who'd bought their itch product or people who'd bought their calm product or their hip and joint product. We said, let's try targeting those audiences. Take the four biggest products, target those audiences separately from everything else. And let's see how that does. And we were able to, less than 2 weeks after that last sale, so all of those buyers who had just bought or excluded generate an additional 171,000 pounds from just under 3,000 orders with a huge lift in AOV, even higher than the last one, right? So really, really great looking AOV. And it's because we did this smart segmentation. It wasn't the volume, but it was this massive margin of overall performance where we got 500% increase in revenue per recipient by targeting this. A product that's not for everybody, but if you buy this product, if you see the results of it, there's no reason you won't come back and buy it again. So the revenue per recipient for that was huge. Now, small audience, but by breaking these groups out and the engaged groups out, we were able to generate quite a bit more revenue and focus on our engaged list where we sent the majority of the traffic, but still incorporate some of those folks who were a little bit less warm. So it's not that when you do the list warming, you got to give up on all those people forever. Having the engaged list to beef up engagement before you send a message to the rest of the folks is actually a great way to boost the overall performance of the setup. So huge. If you have an email list and you have never cleaned your list, never warmed your list up, never done anything like that, I don't think there's anything you can do that's going to mean more to your bottom line in the next year, in the next quarter, than going through and updating this. And finding a way to create a regular cadence to do this is super helpful. And you have to shift that thinking, right? That's the hardest part is selling business owners on this idea. They say it's going to be less people visiting. It's going to be less people buying. No, what it's going to do is going to pull all of those people that are dragging down your best potential buyers, your best customers, the people that love your brand, and getting them out of the way of all the people that want to buy. Imagine if you were selling pastries, you got 47 people standing in front of the display case who are never going to buy a pastry. Get the broom and swat them out of the way so somebody comes over and gets some croissants from you, right? We got to clear those folks out of the way. So super, super impactful. All right, lever two. On to lever three, optimization. So this is a really interesting one. It's a lesson from Ezra. And optimization is something you do everywhere, right? We talk about optimization constantly. Molly had some examples of optimization, right? There was optimization we were doing in that email list because we were figuring out, hey, let's figure out who we should actually send to and just send to them. We're specifically thinking here about site and page optimization because we're getting pretty good in general at driving eyeballs to a page, right? I think everybody has gotten better at that in marketing as a whole, which is fantastic. But people get scared off by the idea of updating their page because they know how to build an email. They know how to write it. They know how to create a graphic. They know sort of how to launch an ad, right? Some of you are having more success than others. Follow the strategies Molly taught if they're not working. But the idea of coding on your site, as someone that hand-built websites in HTML, which was absolutely the most miserable job I've ever had, I would never do it again for money. There are much easier ways to fix and optimize your site, but we're so scared of it. So it's never where we work, or we say, all right, I got to find an agency that's going to do this for $100,000 to fix my site. That's not what optimization is. Optimization can be easy. It can be simple. It can be done with a testing tool that you overlay that just dynamically changes out what shows up, right? Because it's not about some complicated coding trick. It's about good fundamentals. So this brand, Safe Sleep, Ezra became an investor slash part owner earlier this year. They sell phone cases. And I'm going to keep doing this on trainings until Ezra sends me a free phone case. But I still haven't gotten one, but they seem amazing.
They're awesome. I love it. Sorry, John, bragging here. But he
That's
did
good.
ask for our phone types and what color, and you didn't answer. So,
Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, there. Turn back around on me. So they are really awesome though because you can see they really directly cut down on this like EMF radiation that your phone is putting out, and super cool. You can still get your phones and signals because they block it on the side that faces your body. Seems fantastic. And he's got a really fantastic story about how his mom got all anxious about this when he was a kid. And so when he heard this in adult life, it's like, oh, I got to get in on that. But really, a solid product that solves a problem I think people are just kind of starting to wake up to. But he came in to work with them on beefing up and improving their direct response in e-commerce because that is where he's strong and where he could tap the resources of the agency as well. But there was some changes that he made that we didn't even touch, right? We hear about this after the fact. And he's like, yo, I got this awesome case study I want to tell you about. I said, okay, let's hear it. And so he took the site and made a few small tweaks to the top 10% of the homepage and drove, I'm jumping ahead of it because I have a slide for this, but drove a 16% lift in site conversion rate with this change, right? So that's huge. Now, the one caveat is thing they were maybe doing imperfectly, but it's still working for them, is most of the traffic was going to the homepage. The next phase of iteration is to say, hey, we need to drive traffic more to a dedicated landing page optimized for paid traffic because in this version, it's not huge, just what fits in the
and
space.
luckily,
Still
John,
got the
really
nav.
quick. Luckily, their homepage is more like the page we showed for Pretty Farm Girl and not most people's homepages. So they get some extra credit.
That's true. That's very, very true. Um, yeah, I mean, and having that stuff up there is really going to help. But ideally, you don't have a nav. Ideally, you've got your logo and then some kind of like specific details around why should you shop, what you consider, what products you need to be looking at. Maybe telling a story to educate people on the problem if they don't know it yet. But the original version of the homepage, before Ezra started working at them, generic headline, EMF radiation protection. If you're already in market and you know what it is and you've decided you're going to buy one of these, great. That's exactly what you want. But for most people, it's a little generic. You don't really get sold on the idea. It's like, okay,
John, like I'm this avatar, but I would have had no idea what the hell that meant.
yeah, exactly. And it's not even a very good shop button, right? It's like kind of an intense color, super hard to read, not a clear reason to take action. Then select your device. Okay, am I buying a case? Like, how do I sort of sort through this? It's not very clear at eyeballs glance. And you got to remember, taking screenshots on my computer, that's where you take screenshots too often. Most people are on their mobile device. This is even harder to read, this old variant on a mobile device. So it was a little tricky to use. Then some social proof, which is good. Um, it was working, right? I mean, they had traction, they were getting sales. But here's what the updated page looked like. And again, this is pretty much all that got updated. Everything below it stayed the same. It didn't change because only 60% of people scrolled down below this far, right? Which is more than half. But I mean, the fact that 40% of the audience only sees this, every change you make should be focused on above the fold. If you say, hey, I'm going to start optimizing my pages from the bottom up, you will be long bearded, gray haired before you get to, well, that's not a bad thing, but it will take you a long time. I got to switch my aphorism there. It'll take you an awful long time before you get to the part that actually matters. People read top down. People make quick decisions. We only have a short window of time. So updating headlines is probably the most impactful thing you can do to improve the performance as long as the functionality is good. But he shifted to a benefit-based headline, lab tested EMF protection for everyday devices. Still a little bit more for in-market audiences, right? If you don't know what EMF stuff is, you're not going to be ready for it. But there's a little bit more contextual information as well. And big addition, this video was very impactful at driving people to a conversion event, but it was buried further down the page in the
Yeah.
original variant.
And John, I would say that headline on that video, by the way, guys, this is the first time I've seen this variation. So this is new to me too. That is so good. This isn't
Mm,
just a phone case. Here's why. That's almost acting, even probably on mobile, as a secondary headline here. That is so strong there on the video. Everyone
yeah.
needs a phone case. Who doesn't want a phone case that does more than just protect your phone?
Yeah, I think it's really good. In general, I love it when you can take an image or a video and add some badging to it. So it's a fantastic way they get to have a second headline and it's more interactive. They also added a guarantee under the shop button. Really, really effective, right? If you can offer a guarantee, you should offer a guarantee. If you believe in your product, I think it's one of the easiest things you can do because it is truly a differentiator where people are trying to decide is this a legit option? The guarantee is helpful. They shifted the CTA. They boosted it up this educational video. And the last big change, they also added this as seen in. That was a more recent change. I haven't seen the results since they added that. But the biggest one outside of the headline change was shop by device type, right? They did what you call cardification, which is essentially just adding some outlines and clarity around each of these device types where we can actually see the name of the device instead of having to zoom in and kind of, to the two fingers to stretch it. You can see at a glance, okay, this is the iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, this one's a tablet, and adding the color selector down there. That increased click-through rates to the product pages so much. And there's a few more decisions they have to make. Do they want the classic variant or the new version? Do they want the detachable one? But this cues them in the right direction where you can actually filter and get meaningful engagement from people rather than letting them say, okay, there's some sort of device choice I have to make. Unsurprisingly, most people are iPhone, so it should be first. It should get extra badging like it does. But I mean, those changes help too, right? They really brought this to the forefront to make it the focal point. These changes, not a ton, focused in a very small part of the site, using the most challenging asset to create is this video that already existed. It was just way down the page, led to a 16% lift in the e-commerce conversion rate. And that's first pass, right? That's not a big strategic change, which is what the next phase is. That's saying like, hey, something like 85% of our traffic goes to this page. We probably should optimize this page, right? There's so many more optimizations to be done around where that traffic's being directed, but work with what you got, right? We don't need to completely overhaul the strategy to get a big lift. And that's, again, 16% is a huge lift because that's in conversion rate. That's not just in number of people that click through. So really, really happy to see that. I know the future optimizations are improving the product page selectors, right? Making that clickability better. UI is a really, really important part of this. And I think it's one of those things that, again, gets missed because people are uncertain of how to do it themselves, don't know who to hire to do it. There's so many great tools that can do this legwork for you. Pain benefit storytelling, right? That is, I think, one of the strongest ways to communicate an idea to a colder audience. We truly believe in stronger top of funnel marketing. You can see that with the way we allocate budgets, and it has a real impact, right? That is what drives meaningful growth. Pain benefit storytelling creates a way to catch everybody. Folks who are top of funnel and are interested and are curious and are sort of problem aware, they can make a connection between the challenge they have today and the benefit that your product is going to give to solve that. And then, of course, we know, because this is something that we do, I wish we could offer it as a service in the agency, but every time we do, I want to tear my hair out, even though every time the page is like converting twice as well. But creating a strong pre-sale article is just such a good concept for top of funnel growth. And so that's like the next big project on the docket is figuring out how to do that because not everybody knows what EMF radiation stands for, right? That sounds like maybe the name of a television production company. I barely understand the science behind it. I know it's something I don't necessarily want in my body at this point, but more education around that through storytelling, through list goals, through pre-sales is, I think, the easy ceiling for this company where it's really like, hey, let's create more of a story around this. And we're going to see that percentage, 16%, climb significantly more once we start directing traffic there.
And John, imagine, on the ad side of things, we're doing a lot of avatar and hook testing, of course, as we've already talked about. So imagine when we take those findings and then build new listicle offers. So for example, I could imagine that running a listicle to moms about why having their phone next to their baby could be detrimental, educate them. Wow, now we have unlocked a completely new market segment,
Yep.
even more than we would if just the ad and creative were speaking to that avatar with this new offer. So, especially for a brand like this, holy shit, that's going to open up so much. I can't wait to see what happens there.
I know, me too. All right, and then final lever, and then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, offers. And offers, again, these ideas are woven throughout. Each lever, and when you got like I don't know, I'm picturing like one of those old-timey machines where there's like four big levers. When you move one lever, it kind of makes another lever easier to move.
Yes.
So
And John,
all
I'm
interconnected.
also putting the playbook training that we have. I'm putting a link in here to that, guys. This is an entirely free training just on paid traffic offers. If this gets you excited, this will go way deeper into it too.
Nice. Yep. Offers, super fun. It's something we could talk about for an entire webinar. I have talked about it for an
Yeah,
entire webinar.
I think if we picked a topic for you, I think we could go like 10 hours and out Hormozy on length of webinar on offers.
Yes, I would agree. I do need one of those nose. For 10 hours, I need the extra oxygenation it's going to give me. So that'll be step one before we do that. But
I want to see you with a nose. Please, please give me the happiness of seeing you with that on your nose.
all right, Christmas present for Molly. Very, very easy. Um, no, but actually, what I'm going to do is a John Henry style. If you guys know John Henry, the story of a man that was going to outrace the rail driving machine. So it's like, I'm faster, I'm stronger, I'm better than the machine. Chat GPT versus me on offers. We were on a client call one time and it was like, you know, what if you did this offer concept? And they were like, oh, that sounds really good. And Molly typed in, hey, give me an offer concept for this. And Chat GPT copied my idea to the little, I was like, this is the 4-second stand up test. And Chat GPT came up with the exact same thing. It's something I'd never said before, never researched. So that'll be our 10-hour offer presentation, is to see if we can
Yeah,
beat Chat
that was
GPT at coming up
scary.
with offer concepts.
Now,
Um,
that's a one in a million, though. Do not rely on AI for your offers, please.
this is truly the place where business owners have a unique level of leverage and insight. And so it's why it's a great place to talk, because this is something that you cannot offload to somebody else, right? Business owners talk to us. Molly and I do these Black Friday, Cyber Monday prep calls with clients, and they say, what should we do? And it's like, hey, we're going to give you the playbook. We're going to give you ideas. But ultimately, you need to know what your audience is going to respond to. We can tell you what works in other verticals. We can tell you what we think is going to work for you. But you have this great, unique sense. You got into this business, you grew it to a certain size because you have intuition you need to leverage here. But the example is really fun. It is from us taking back over Running Boom's ad. So there's a whole interesting story about it that I'm not really sure it's my story to tell. It might be something that comes out at Smart Marketer Live. We'll see. But we were not running Boom's ads. And there came a moment when it was like, okay, you know what? We need to bring Boom's ads back into Smart Marketer. Like, that is the choice that needs to get made. And that happened the 1st of March of this year. And it feels really good to us to kind of show this initial result, because what I did is I essentially took this AOV chart in Shopify and I said, okay, from when we took back over running it, what was the average order value for new customers? And it jumps from roughly $38 in February up to $78 in April, and held very steady there up to this day. I just wanted to have this dramatic line, and so I didn't make the full chart, but it's still looking just as good. And it's all about how we fixed and changed where the focus was for those new customers, right? That is the thing that gotten lost, because you can over optimize. We talked about how good optimization is. It can be your enemy. We were able to jump that AOV up, more than double it, while we grew the number of monthly new customers by 33%. So it wasn't just that we said, okay, we're going to have less customers, they're going to be more profitable. No, it was an increase in the total number of customers too, because we were optimizing for the big picture, right? When you look at the offer they were running before, which was the big focal point, it was this Boom Rose Stick Nude, or Boom Stick Rose Nude, right? Really great product. Honestly, I think still one of their best selling products to this day. And it had a great e-commerce conversion rate in a vacuum. So if you just looked at products and said, hey, when a customer comes here and buys a product, what's the conversion rate on it? Well, this one is the best one. So this is what we want to take out and run to paid traffic, because it's doing the best. So it's the one we should run. But you can't just pick one thing and say, this is how I live or die in the business. Because the truth is, it had two big things against it. One is it had a super high offer fatigue. As they kept running this, the CPC kept increasing. It never stopped. It continued to go up until we said, we got to stop running this. So when we're looking back, kind of sifting through what was happening, it had this massive rate of fatigue, and there was creative getting shuffled out. But even with that, still going up way too fast. And the AOV for it was consistently $40. Boom's big secret, the thing that they did so well, is that when you would explore Boom as a new customer in the beginning, you would be sold the idea that, hey, there's makeup that's actually made for women over 50, rather than makeup that is trying to hide the fact that you're aging. It celebrates it, it enhances it. It gives you what you really need and deserve, which is age-friendly, pro-age, positive messaging, and makeup designed for you. And it was not something that was consumed with a single stick, a single thing, a single lipstick. It was a set of 3, right? The Boomstick Trio. So Boom's natural structure, the way that it really grew the business, was that they had this trio as their core focus. And this product, while it had a really great e-com conversion rate, did not lend itself towards people coming back and buying 3 sticks. They would buy this 1 stick and they'd say, okay, I'm done. That's all I need. And so it really was antithetical to this idea that Boom is the solution for your full makeup kit. You've got the simplified routine. It's great that they added more diversity of sticks. I think that's a fantastic change. I think it's very natural and logical. But to shift away from the trio to an individual stick looked good at first glance, but in reality was not what they needed to do to continue to grow. So when we took back over, we shifted focus back to an old standby, right? It's not like we came and invented something brand new. We said, hey, we're going to go back to the offer that works, which is pre-sale articles and straight to product page offers promoting the trio itself. And of course, I just noticed now my screenshot tool cut off what we call the Johnson box. That's a throwback for anybody that's been doing this for more than 10 years, but it's the trio. It goes back to the trio, and there's lots of little tweaks and optimizations that have been put into it. But with that change, CPC has stayed consistent. The e-commerce conversion rate is a little bit lower, but the CPC is not growing month over month like it was with the Rose Nude alone, and the AOV is consistently around $82. So, the blended AOV for all new customers, $78, but for this product specifically, 82, and it has been that way for the last 5 months. So huge change, massive, and it's just a function of picking the right offer. If you go in and say, all right, I'm going to optimize just for what has the best conversion rate. I'm going to optimize just for what has the highest AOV. If you only look at one of those things alone, you're likely going to make a mistake. You need to look at this holistic picture where it's like, hey, where do we actually make investments strategically in this business? I think it's one of the best things we do with our agency clients. This is just a great example, a nice dramatic number. But the truth is, the thing we do that I think changes the game for most people that's really boring is we say, hey, let's look at the ACOS, right? Let's figure out how much we're spending out of our total budget towards advertising and use that as our optimization metric in the business because we're not over optimizing, we're not over correcting based on platform stuff. We're trying to say we want to make sure we make a strategic commitment to spend 30 to 40% of the money coming into our business on growing the business. And that is the way that you build the momentum machine and get things to actually scale, right? This final lever is about scale. It comes from the right offer. It doesn't work if you don't have that offer set up. So we really like to take that broader strokes approach. But yeah, I think that's what I got for the 4 levers.
Rock and roll, John. You ready to take some questions?
Let's do it.
Hey, we're selling event tickets, by the way. Y'all are gobbling those up. So if you want to come to Denver live, if you like this nerdy marketing stuff, we have 2 days jam-packed of the best speakers we could get. The way we went about this is if we were going to a conference, who would we want to learn from? And I think this year is even next level from last year. So we would love to see you guys in Denver. And if you're a 7, 8, 9-figure business owner, apply for our mastermind mentor table. We have calls like these every single week. We have a Slack workspace where we can give you one-on-one feedback. You have access to our entire agency team, media buyers, email marketers, creative team, so that you can get feedback on what you're doing while also seeing what other successful businesses are up to. I've been doing a lot of these sales calls this week and talking to existing members. Number one, we just have really good people in this group. I would be personal friends with every single person in this group. But everyone says you don't know what you don't know. Yes, I love getting help in my business, but I also love having exposure to other people's businesses, their wins, their struggles. That is the beauty of a mastermind. And this is more than a mastermind. It's really a mastermind plus coaching program. Not only do we have the 2 events every year, but we have the entire online community, 2 calls a week, Slack workspace, monthly reports that aggregate. If you liked this is nothing. We're aggregating across the board what's working for our clients that month and how you guys can implement. You also get access to our entire course library completely free. You can add as many team members as you would like to the online experience. The only thing that we have to cap, of course, is the live events, or we would have thousands of people there. So if you are a 7, 8, 9-figure business owner and you are interested in a community and you like our vibe and you want to learn from people that are out there doing this every single day, definitely check out Mentor Table and at least come see us in Denver. I really think, John, what do you think will sell out? Maybe 7 days. It could be sooner. This is not fall scarcity. So if you want to come, Brad, I'm looking at you. I need a hug. Come check us out in Denver. All right, Crom Dog, I got some questions for you.
Awesome.
Uh, the mentor link. Hey, John, you missed table and mentor. So it's mentor table 25. We'll put it
Oh man.
in the chat. Brent, thank you for that, but you just ruined John's night.
Yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about that for the next 4 days. Thanks a lot.
The
No, that's
detail
definitely my fault.
person missed a small detail.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay. And guys, if you have questions that haven't been answered, it's harder for me to see all of them on mobile. Start blowing this up if you have something that you want answered, and we're going to get through as many of these as we can. Julie, hi Julie. She says, love the boom 3-step strategy. I missed the sin step. Can you please review it? I have first as pre-sale article and third as the trio offer.
So yeah, with the boom thing, the big change we made was, oh, that I think you're thinking of the
Yeah. Hey, John, I've
safe
got
sleep,
an
right?
answer to this.
Okay, go for it.
Julie, hey, Sam, can we send Julie a link on YouTube or Zach, whoever, to the Smart Marketer Show episode that John and I did together? I think it was the second or third one. Julie, this is going to answer your question and also give you more examples. Um, and then she can see all the other systems in there too, John, that you
Perfect.
teach. How do you think about strategy as it relates to D2C and Amazon working together? Do you want to take this, John, or do you want me to?
Sure. Oh yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I mean, what we found in general is that Amazon is a place you're going to catch buyers who will not shop anywhere else. And if you do not play on the Amazon playground, somebody else will play on there with a name tag that's got your name on it. And so, Amazon in general, we want to say, hey, get on Amazon. This needs to be part of your business profile. We don't spend a ton of time and energy and money sending Facebook ads to Amazon, right? It is catching this halo effect where we see a pretty massive lift, right? About 15 to 20% of the traffic that we drive from Meta ends up converting on Amazon for storefronts that have products on there. We've done that
And
analysis a
John,
bunch of
really
times.
quick,
Always comes up that way. Go
a
ahead.
way that we know this, let's say there's a billing error in a Meta account or it gets shut down and, it takes a day for our rep to get it fixed. We will literally see a 20% drop in Amazon sales because of that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And so I think our general philosophy is like you need to be on Amazon. You don't need to be sending traffic to Amazon with your Meta account, but it's somewhere that some people only want to shop there. There's something I was talking about with Molly where we've been noticing this across all businesses, but it's cart consolidation, right? People are spending overall more money, but they're spending it at a smaller number of stores. And so this is kind of this interesting collapse of the unique standalone store. I think there's a lot of pieces that are going to cover us where we don't need to panic, no reason to freak out, but being able to be part of that collapsed cart is much better than being excluded completely from the playground. And so definitely something we want to see people investing in as a strategy to just catch that because we used to have a Boom before Boom built out their Amazon storefront. Thousands and thousands of people buying Boom sticks every single month that were not sold by Boom, that were not as good as Boom's products, and they would complain to Boom when the products didn't turn out like they wanted because there were people who were selling a crappy knockoff that they were using all the keywords that Boom was driving there, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend leading to people going to that site and getting sold something that didn't work. So we try to do that. And when we do this, we try to look at the full ACOS of the business, like I said. So we're trying to think, okay, we want to roll in Amazon revenue, not because we're trying to dramatically overinflate what any individual campaign gets in Meta, but it helps us make a smarter overall business decision where we say this is a sustainable total commitment of budget. And we know that there's upside that we see in the Meta, in Shopify, and of course on Amazon itself.
Awesome. Okay, this is more email focused, John. So Stacy is asking, she said, do you mean cutting those that don't engage after this warming sequence? So essentially, what happens to the people that don't engage during the warming sequence inside
Yeah,
of Klaviyo or whatever email service provider you're using?
that's a very, very good question. And the truth is, I have an 80 slide presentation that I did not give because I had to cut it down where we talk more in depth about it. But what you do is you don't need to delete all those email addresses. We try to once a month or so strategically send a piggyback email to that less engaged audience. Now, someone that hasn't engaged with you for more than a year, for 365 plus days, where they have not visited your site, they have not bought your product, they have not clicked an email, they have not engaged with an ad, those people we do recommend suppressing. But we have this 365-day engaged audience that we're not sending to as frequently, where we will send an email to our hyper engaged 90 to 120-day list. And then we'll piggyback right on the back of that, send within 15 to 30 minutes to that 365-day audience. So the signaling to Gmail is like, hey, great engagement. People like this stuff. Awesome. Oh, here's another email from this group. The last one got a ton of opens, a ton of clicks. So let's make sure that this one gets, good pass through as well. So we don't delete them, but we do dramatically drop their frequency. And the way it works, people who are doing any of the things we want, right? Showing any sign of engagement, visiting your site, opting in, buying a product, they automatically are going to be pulled onto your 120-day engaged list because it's a dynamic list. It's fluid. It's based on, have you had any of these engagement factors in the last 120 days? So those people in the 365-day list, when they engage, they get pulled over to our main engage list. And so it naturally cycles people in. So we don't stop mailing them, but we do drop the communication frequency to once or twice a month and try to piggyback it onto the high engagement of the super engaged list.
Awesome. Let us know if you guys have any more questions, guys. Julie, I also want to add Amazon can be a great channel. It's also so different from D2C where it's so search based. So it's really not a channel where we prefer to launch a business, right? It's a lot easier to launch a business D2C, be able to create through paid ads and messaging a desire for a particular product versus relying for someone searching a particular product or phrase in order to sell the product. So we always think D2C first, Amazon second. Amazon ads can be effective, but you can really overspend.
Mm-hmm.
There's a brand in Mentor Table called Clean Ease. Pep, who runs our agency, was auditing their business when they first came on. You all, he found something like $60,000 in wasted Amazon spend every single month. When cut, it made absolutely no difference in their business. Not saying Amazon ads are bad. That's a whole other can of worms. They can be effective, but it's functionally very, very different from D2C, as you know. Laura said, what would you tell a client who wants to add a buy with Prime button to Shopify? It's so hard to track meta success with this, John. What would you tell a client who wants to add a buy with Prime button to their storefront?
That's a very interesting question. What I would say, knee-jerk reaction, right? Because I tend to lump these all together as like additional payment processing. I always think, yeah, you should have a buy with PayPal option, but buy with Prime is a little bit different. I'm assuming it's a redirect to the Prime experience. If it's just another credit card option, I would just say do it. I mean, there's ways that I personally, non-coder, have set up a effective
Redirect to
crediting system.
Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. Redirects to Amazon. Yeah. I would probably discourage them. If you get somebody so far along that they are in the checkout for your product on your storefront, I don't want to send that traffic to Amazon. I want to own that traffic. If they want easy payment options, include Shop Pay, include PayPal. Let people pay with their credit card. Let people pay with gift cards, whatever. But why would we do all of the legwork and then give Amazon the full credit and close, right? Like it's just a losing game for us. So nobody thinks of Prime as their wallet right now. I mean, 10 years from now, you never know, right? But I would optimize for payment methods where you still own the journey and the experience, and they are an email address going into your platform. They are a customer that will come back and buy from you again through your storefront, rather than saying, all right, I ran 95% of the marathon. Now I'm going to let this other person just cruise across the finish line and get all the credit for it.
Larry entered the room. He's finding your Q&A interesting, John. Uh, Darius, what's up, buddy? I haven't talked to you in a while. I thought of you guys the other day. I think I saw a post on Instagram. He said, having a fashion brand, number one, how do you balance brand versus bargain moving onto Amazon? Really good question. Darius, if you are not on Amazon already, I would be very careful thinking about launching a fashion brand, especially one like yours that has so much curated high-end feel to it. I don't know if that's something that I would take to Amazon for the reasons that you mentioned. I don't know if that's exactly the question you're asking. I know you're asking about balance, but I do not see. Okay, yeah. All right. And then how do we balance it? Darius, do you mean more like how do we balance the messaging that's coming through and the look and feel of our site and ads? How do we balance that with Amazon? Tell me exactly what you mean by that, if you can. John, this is for you. Oh, oops, click the wrong button. Okay, this is for you, buddy. How do you suggest we gather zero party data to understand, learn our customers' buying behaviors and where they are shopping?
Interesting question. I would say that there are lots of places that promise you good, clean data about this behavior. What I would do is like, if you're thinking, okay, we want to get a sense of behavior, having your own products, your own site, your own emails is the best way to get this data. Like the fundamental truth is, I always say the best marketing book you got is not the one we wrote. It's not the one some other person wrote. It's your own business because you actually have most of this data in there. But if you want to supplement with additional data, Tower data is the data source that I tend to use to round out my data collection, right? When I want to go through and see like, okay, help me understand the profile of this audience. But it's not where I tend to start. I want to see like, okay, I'm going to write a piece of content and see what people say to this. I'm going to put a product out there and see what the engagement level is. We send out pretty regularly, I would say at least every 6 months, ideally every 3 months, to targeted segments, emails where we're asking for feedback from recent buyers to get meaningful data on this. Because there's always that like, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. But the truth is, like, the people that are doing this well, like the owners that are having success, have a good feedback loop with customers where you're getting a sense of like, what are their pain points? What are their opportunities? What are their challenges? I think that's better than saying, I'm going to pay a lot for some other company to give me data aggregation of generic touch points like, okay, 37 of them went to college, 37% went to college, and, you know, 25% make over $100,000 a year. Sure, contextually great. Way less useful than the qualitative data you're going to get from saying, like, I want to get on the phone and talk to 10 customers that I emailed and said, hey, I want to make a product you love. Tell me if you're interested in talking to me, and I will talk to you. That is way more impactful.
Yeah,
And that's
John,
something we find in our own business.
I would rather analyze even meta ads or dare spend money on very low budget headline creative testing to just see what hooks, what messages these people are resonating with to see what you can learn about them. You're really looking for their inner heart, unless what John said, as you know, did they go to college? What's their exact age? How much money do they make? That stuff's not as helpful in marketing. So I think there are some other creative ways for you to collect that too. John Laura said, do you ever offer paid audits from your media buyers? Good question. So if you apply to work with our agency on this site, if you are qualified and you're interested in our services, we do an audit as the sales process so that we can look into your account and make sure we can help. And so that you get an idea of what the plan would be. I don't think we do any paid a la carte audits, John. Maybe we will in the future. Laura, this is part of onboarding for Mentor Table, where
Yeah.
our team audits your acquisition and retention and comes up with a plan as if you were a client. But we might do one off for charity or something one day. Not right now. Um, Daniel says sells dog supplements. John, if we had to choose the largest cohort or segment of our clients and mastermind members, it would be in the dog space, Daniel. So we
Oh,
play
yeah.
in this space a lot. I have a dog rescue. I don't know. We attract dog people. So hello, friend. Uh, he says we sell personalized dog supplements. I love the personalized feel. I really haven't seen that in the dog space. How should we educate customers about our product? Is it better to use expert video ads or listicle style pages? Or should we run a direct offer to customers first and then retarget them? Daniel, you need to watch that playbook webinar. I talk about these different offer styles and in what order to test them and use them for scale. There's like a 30-minute answer to this. Watch that webinar. Also, on that webinar, you can buy a one-on-one call with me for pretty cheap, and all of that money goes to the dog rescue. I would love to see what you think and look specifically at your offers after you watch that training. But the answer is all above. It's just in what order do we do it for
Hmm.
scale? Um, Darius said, we're getting copycats on Amazon. Yes, this is unavoidable. Awful. So we toyed with I don't know why I'm having trouble reading today, guys. I'm sorry. So we've toyed with the idea, but are having those concerns that it'll dilute the brand. But you all confirm what we've been thinking. Absolutely. Good to see you. Tell your wife hello. Daniel says, thank you, Molly. Awesome, John. I think we have answered everything that is of recency. So let us know if you
Sweet.
guys have any more questions. If you love dogs or you are interested in adopting a dog or supporting a dog rescue, our rescue is called Fields of Freedom. It's FOFdogrescue.com. Here on my farm in Kentucky, we save hundreds of dogs every year from being euthanized in shelters and other life-threatening situations. So this is my heart project, and reach out to me, guys, through support or DM me on Instagram if you're interested in starting a nonprofit or getting more into that space. I'll say that nothing has given me energy like the dog rescue. It doesn't make me money directly, but it gives me this special source of energy that I use in my for-profit work. So side note there about the dogs, Sean, I got to throw that in.
Yeah, perfect segue.
Awesome. Well, John, I think it is time to wrap this up. I get really hot during these. And so I blasted the AC. I just look over, poor Zach is wrapped in a blanket. Larry's shaking. So I've created a true ice box here.
Well, I was just feeling hot myself, so that makes a lot of sense. We were just putting out lots of energy. It's been super fun though, Molly. I had a lot of fun diving into this stuff. It's fun to pull these
Same.
case studies out, and we've got so many more that we're going to be sharing at Smart Marketer Live. So good teaser. Obviously, join us for the Smart Marketer Live show every single month because we share tons of content like this. But I do love doing these big roll ups where it's just like rapid fire. And if I leave you with one thing, it's this idea that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, super exciting. There's going to be a ton of hype. We're going to talk more about it because it's important. You shouldn't discount it. But the truth is, trying to think how you go into Black Friday with momentum is going to be way more effective than saying, okay, Black Friday is 2 weeks from now, right? I've laid out every single email, I've laid out every single ad, and then trying to turn it on and go. It is about starting today to build momentum and movement in your business by pulling these other levers because there's everything that you need to have a strong year starts when you start thinking this way, right? We go in, every single client we have, one or two of these levers is where we start the conversation. We say, hey, we got to pull this lever. That's what's going to drive the growth you want, in addition to what we're doing within the agency. So I think really, really important to have that perspective. But super
Rock
fun
and
to
roll.
see everybody.
Yeah. And guys, these are the strategies that work all year long.
Yep.
That said, next month's Smart Marketer Show, John, will be Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We're about to put out all of our free content about Q4. So act on these strategies and get ready for the best time of year. Thanks,
Sweet.
y'all, as always, for hanging out. Good to see new faces and lots of familiar faces. We wouldn't do any of this without you all. So thanks for supporting Smart Marketer. Thanks for serving the world unselfishly and profiting. Thanks to the Smart Marketer team, as always. And we'll see you in person, maybe in the mastermind, definitely next month on the Smart Marketer Show. Stay in our ecosystem. We're always pumping stuff out. So thank you so much and talk soon, y'all. See ya.